is allegedly very worried that Prince William could move to strip her of her Duchess of Sussex title when he becomes monarch. Of course, Harry and Meghan remain the Duke and Duchess of Sussex despite giving up their royal duties 5 years ago.
Meghan Markle's head thinking that she dictates to the British monarchy.
Today, extraordinary claims that Meghan Markle is threatening to sue the British royal family and Prince William if
she confronted the ancient British royal institution, holding a millennium of customs, rules, lineage, and steadiness, and essentially dared them, saying, "Just try to stop me."
Quickly slammed the monarchy. However, this recent decision to strip Prince Andrew and Fergie of their royal titles has reportedly sent a chill through Montecito.
The reality regarding Meghan Markle is simple. When she breaks, she truly breaks. Sources claim this week that her Montecito home essentially vibrated from the intensity of her anger. The second rumors began spreading that Prince William, the future king, plans to revoke her Duchess of Sussex status. Meghan reportedly went berserk. This wasn't mere anxiety or distress. It was a complete, explosive, Hollywood-style emotional collapse.
With the letters patent. So now we're going to get into Rachel Meghan Markle, beautiful guys, because Meghan thinks that a royal title belongs to her. She's still so stupid that she doesn't understand that royal titles.
If Meghan is falling apart in private, William is doing the complete opposite. Sources say he's now in a state of cold, laser-focused clarity, a mindset he only enters when he's getting ready to embrace his destiny as the future king. And from this new perspective, one harsh reality has become impossible to ignore. The Sussex titles no longer align with the version of the monarchy he plans to create.
If I was Meghan, I'd be pretty worried too because she's still happy to use the Duchess of Sussex.
For years, royal observers claimed that removing titles would take acts of parliament, royal assent, agreement across generations, and maybe even the planets lining up. Essentially, a miracle. Then Charles quietly stripped Andrew of his titles with a single signature. William watched it unfold like someone who's just found a cheat code. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't dramatic. It was swift, controlled, and final.
that's gonna happen. So you better get your lawyer ready, okay? It may not happen with King Charles, but
And, according to palace insiders, that moment changed everything. William is said to have quietly told his most trusted aides that titles should stand for service, loyalty, and integrity, not for personal branding, Hollywood contracts, or Netflix tell-all streamed to millions. In his eyes, the Sussex title has turned into a contradiction, a royal distinction propping up a commercial empire that operates outside the crown.
Tries to sell her candles and her gems.
Her whole global brand is based on being the Duchess of Sussex. It's not about being a former actress, although apparently she's now filming a new TV series or movie or something.
In his eyes, the monarchy can't truly move forward while dragging along what he sees as dead weight. Those around William now describe him as focused, unsentimental, even quietly resigned. He feels he no longer knows the man his brother has become. He doesn't trust Meghan's motives, and he's worn out by the constant accusations, public broadsides, and the traveling circus of drama that seems to follow them everywhere.
Not even to Charles, belongs to the monarchy. And she's not even a blood royal. Harry is the one who was gifted the title upon marriage.
What he sees now, they say, is a couple who left the family but kept the perks, a pair who, in his view, weaponized the royal brand for profit while painting the institution as the villain. The Queen didn't ask them, she told them. It wasn't a negotiation. She issued a command. You are not to use Her Royal Highness or their Royal Highness. That matter, in her eyes, was closed so when William becomes king. Insiders claim he won't hesitate, won't delay, won't second-guess himself. For him, stripping the titles wouldn't be revenge, it would be routine housekeeping. And Meghan, they say, understands that this is the most dangerous kind of king to confront if she loses her title. And if Prince Harry does as well, they are reduced to ordinary celebrities. And in Hollywood, ordinary celebrities are just part of the crowd. While William quietly hardens his resolve, Meghan has, according to insiders, gone into what they call panic mode, a state of constant, high-alert anxiety where every phone call, every headline, every faint rumor of palace movement sends her rushing to prepare. To her, this isn't a simple reshuffle of royal roles. It's an existential threat to her identity, her reputation, and her empire. The idea that the titles could be used in some contexts but not others is, from the palace perspective, irrelevant. The Queen's stance was absolute. You cannot use them. Full stop. Even so, sources say Meghan has been on the phone with lawyers almost every day, trying to find out what legal options she might have if William moves to reclaim the Duchess of Sussex title. The answer she keeps hearing is not the one she wants. The monarchy is ancient, the laws around it are rigid, and the power of a king is far more absolute than she ever imagined. But that reality, they say, still isn't stopping her.
The Queen asked them, told them. It wasn't even an ask. The Queen gave a command. You're not to use Her Royal Highness or the Royal Highnesses. That's done and over with.
Insiders say she has now rallied her Hollywood network, pulling in publicists, branding gurus, the Oprah-adjacent set. Anyone who can help shape a storyline, cushion the impact, or construct an argument for pushing back, because Meghan understands that the instant anyone moves against her title, the press will detonate, and she wants to be fully armed with her own account. Those around her insist she views the loss of her title as nothing short of catastrophic. Even as commentators scoff at the idea that she could seriously contemplate suing a future king and staking a legal claim to a dukedom as if it were personal property. Friends say she keeps circling back to one defiant refrain. If they try to take it, I'm going to court. The contrast, royal analysts note, is stark. Most people who surrender or are stripped of titles do so quietly, with restraint and dignity, while Meghan is allegedly preparing to turn the whole thing into a worldwide drama. Precisely the scenario William is determined to prevent. Those who work with royal households point out that forms of address are set through official channels. Governments are told how to style people, and it does not come down to an individual's demands, and Harry encountered that system firsthand. Palace insiders add that Meghan's anxiety surged after Prince Andrew lost his HRH status. Watching him rebranded as simply Andrew Mountbatten Windsor reportedly struck her as a direct warning. If that could happen to a man born royal, a queen's son, it could certainly happen to her, especially after the criticism she has leveled at the institution. In their view, she is in no position to declare, "It's mine, and I'll sue if you take it," and William, for his part, is unlikely to get bogged down personally in such a fight. Still, the feverish planning goes on. Late-night phone marathons, hushed strategy meetings, rising tension in Montecito, all fueled by Meghan's conviction that this time the danger is real and, unusually for her, beyond her control. Insiders say the single moment that truly shattered her sense of safety was watching Andrew lose everything in public view. One day, he was His Royal Highness, the Queen's son, seemingly untouchable. The next, he was stripped of HRH, cast out of public roles, and left as just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a name suddenly bare of royal armor, all of it executed, they stress, with Buckingham Palace's full direction. Meghan is said to have watched with a sinking feeling. Until then, she had viewed the monarchy as glacial, inflexible, and conflict-averse, convinced that titles were effectively permanent ceremonial ornaments no sovereign would dare tamper with for fear of backlash. When Charles signed that writ with apparent ease, it forced her to confront a possibility she had never seriously considered. If the system could remove Andrew's styles and privileges, it could erase hers just as swiftly. Those close to her describe her becoming visibly rattled, pacing their Montecito home and repeatedly asking, "Does this mean it could happen to us?" while quietly probing whether she would have any real legal footing to challenge the crown. The comparison, they note, is damning. Andrew was born into royalty, Meghan was not. If a blood prince can be reduced to ordinary status, what realistic hope do she and Harry have, particularly after everything they have said and done in public? Insiders claim that understanding flipped a switch in her. Her voice took on a new urgency. Her discussions grew sharper, her actions more tightly calculated to eye in her mind. The title stopped being a ceremonial flourish and became a shield, a brand identity, and the cornerstone of every media and commercial deal she and Harry have signed. Observers say Andrew's downfall was her true wake-up call, a clear sign that the crown was finished with gentle accommodation, that the monarchy no longer feared backlash, and that William, unlike his father, has almost no patience for royal disorder. The message was unavoidable. The Sussex titles are not locked in. They never were. To outsiders, noble styles may look like glittering add-ons, decorative flourishes on famous names, but those who claim to know her insist that Duchess of Sussex is, for Meghan, the life support of her entire brand. It is not about sentimentality or fond memories. It is a calculated asset. That title underpins her standing in Hollywood, her bargaining power in business, and the engine behind every contract she and Harry have pursued since stepping down. Remove it, they argue, and the carefully built Sussex enterprise risks collapsing like a flimsy Netflix set. In that scenario, he is just Harry Mountbatten-Windsor, and she is no longer a duchess, which is why, according to sources close to the couple, Meghan grasps the stakes far more keenly than Harry ever could. He was born a prince, but for her, the title is the bridge that keeps their royal past powering their present. Harry's sense of self doesn't disappear if his dukedom does, but for Meghan, almost everything she has built, Archwell, the podcasts, production deals, high-profile appearances, lifestyle branding, leans heavily on the royal gloss she acquired through marriage. Without that sheen, insiders claim, she risks becoming just another former actress scrambling for relevance in a town full of them. According to Radar Online's British-based reporter Erin Tin, sources say she is genuinely frightened about what comes next. Speaking fees shrinking, brand partnerships evaporating, media obsession cooling overnight. The uncomfortable reality, they argue, is that Meghan the celebrity does not command the same interest as Meghan the Duchess, and that distinction underpins much of her current clout. This is why, they say, she is already bracing for a legal fight, convinced Prince William will eventually target her Duchess of Sussex title once he ascends the throne. To friends, she allegedly describes the prospect of losing it as akin to being written out of the script altogether. It isn't just symbolic to her, it feels existential, reshaping how the public sees her, how Hollywood evaluates her, and even how she views herself. In these accounts, she is both panicked and defiant, telling confidants that if William moves against her style, she will be ready to respond in court. To Meghan, the title is not a mere form of address. It is her currency, her armor, her last significant leverage, and she believes William understands that perfectly. Stripping it from his side would not just be a tidy constitutional adjustment. It would amount to a strategic dismantling of the Sussex brand, a way to choke off its oxygen supply without issuing a single public rebuke. And that, insiders insist, is precisely the scenario Meghan dreads. Palace sources say her anxiety spiked after King Charles moved to curtail Prince Andrew's HRH status and, by association, Sarah Ferguson's remaining royal styling. She reportedly sees that as proof that a new era of royal reckoning has begun and worries she could be next. Behind the scenes, those close to the royal household claim something has fundamentally changed in William, and that shift is directly linked to Harry and Meghan's conduct over recent years. The two brothers, once bound tightly by shared grief and childhood trauma, are now said to stand on opposite sides of a rift so deep that those in their orbit no longer talk seriously about reconciliation. According to these insiders, Meghan is acutely nervous that William might one day use his authority as king to remove her title altogether. Senior palace figures even suggest William has admitted in private that he barely recognizes Harry now. He sees a man, they say, who is mired in resentment, fueled by anger, and led by a storyline that casts the royal family as the villains. For a prince who has spent his entire life preparing to defend and eventually lead that institution, such a portrayal reportedly cuts more deeply than the public will ever fully appreciate. Meghan's title, from this perspective, represents far more than a decorative label. It is tethered to her identity, her public worth, and the empire she has tried to build. Sources claim William's forbearance did not erode gradually, but snapped all at once, like a dam bursting under relentless strain. The Netflix docuseries, Harry's memoir, the high-profile interviews, and the cascade of accusations all piled up until, in William's mind, Harry stopped being merely a wayward brother and instead became a serious liability to the long-term stability of the crown. One insider put it bluntly, titles still carry enormous weight, and a significant part of Meghan and Harry's reach in media, business, and charity flows from being the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Those same sources say William privately views Meghan as the accelerant in this saga. the spark that intensified Harry's alienation, though he stops short of blaming her alone. He is not, they insist, naive about his brother's agency, but he can't ignore how starkly Harry's attitude appeared to change after the marriage. Friends of the couple reportedly say that watching Andrew lose his status and revert to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor served as Meghan's sharpest wake-up call, proof that no title is entirely safe when the institution decides otherwise. Still, royal commentators and legal experts are united on one point. The notion that Meghan could successfully sue the monarchy to keep her title is, in their view, not just improbable, but legally untenable. Yet, according to these accounts, she clings to the belief that there must be some legal avenue, perhaps through American courts, perhaps international tribunals, where she could challenge such a move. The brutal reality she is said to resist confronting is simple. You cannot meaningfully sue the crown, at least not in any way that would force a sovereign to restore or retain a courtesy title. Radar Online reports that William, who has spoken privately about his desire to slim down the monarchy, is widely believed to be prepared to rethink how titles are used, especially by royals who no longer serve the institution. Insiders say Meghan keeps insisting there must be a workaround, asking lawyers whether titles can be treated as personal property, intellectual property, or some kind of earned entitlement that could be defended in court, and each time receiving the same firm response: no. A palace source describes William as highly pragmatic about the monarchy's future. He wants it to appear leaner, modern, and accountable, and that, they say, may mean confronting the optics of high-profile titles being exploited far from the duties of the crown. In constitutional terms, the rule is stark and simple. Titles are granted at the monarch's discretion and can be withdrawn at the monarch's discretion, full stop. That authority will pass intact to William when he eventually becomes King William V. While Harry has, by some accounts, been cautiously rebuilding a relationship with his father, relations between the Sussexes and the Prince of Wales remain tense and unresolved, and those close to William describe his patience as nearly exhausted. Against that backdrop, sources claim Meghan's frustration is only deepening, fueled by the realization that the status she relies on most is also the one thing she cannot legally control. Insiders say Meghan's frustration is reaching a boiling point because every route she explores runs into the same unyielding reality. In this arena, royal authority is effectively final. Even trying to rally public sympathy won't save her now. They claim the mood has shifted. US outlets increasingly mock her. British commentators are tired of the saga, and the wave of royal fatigue she helped create has now turned back on her. The palace doesn't need a court ruling, a parliamentary vote, or a referendum. All it takes is a monarch's signature on a document, and Meghan is acutely aware of that. After everything she and Harry have said and done to damage the family's reputation, if William carries that perception into his reign, insiders believe her title will sit on perilously thin ice. Yet those close to the Duchess insist she refuses to be cowed. She sees herself as David facing a royal Goliath. That realization is said to be fueling her frantic push to find any loophole, any technical distinction, any legal gray zone she can cling to. Except, as one insider put it, the crown doesn't operate in gray. If she feels boxed in, they say, she will lash out through the courts, through carefully orchestrated media campaigns, through whatever platform she can still command. For all the rhetoric about moving beyond royal life, those titles remain the bedrock of the Sussex operation. And according to palace sources, William has already taken a lesson from Andrew's fall. When the moment comes, you don't argue with the storm. You simply sign the writ and let the thunder roll. Meghan can issue as many legal threats as she likes, but in the view of royal experts, she has no realistic chance of winning. Commentators openly describe her stance as delusional, with some American pundits bluntly telling her to be quiet, insisting she fundamentally misunderstands how little leverage she actually has. While Meghan scrambles to construct legal arguments, the media in both America and Britain is said to be closing in, spotlighting every misstep and amplifying every sign of panic. Insiders say she's painfully aware that losing her title wouldn't just alter some entry on a legal document. It would rewrite her entire public story. Critics urge her to accept that she may be stripped of the Duchess style and tell her to get used to it. pointing out that this isn't a situation she can reframe as an American civil rights dispute. As Meghan consults lawyers and PR strategists, sources describe Harry as stuck in the eye of the hurricane, unable to stop what's coming. The Duke of Sussex, once seen as the cheeky, rebellious spare, is now portrayed by insiders as petulant, defensive, and utterly consumed by his determination to stand by Meghan at any cost. Within the palace, that loyalty is reportedly viewed not as noble but as dangerous, because it places his wife's grievances above the stability of the institution he was born into. Commentators back in the UK question how either of them can feel entitled to royal status when they no longer perform royal responsibilities. According to recent reports, the brothers even clashed privately in the past week. William is said to have told Harry bluntly that he no longer recognizes him, seeing instead a man reshaped by bitterness, resentment, and outside influence. And in that narrative, Meghan is widely regarded as the primary catalyst. Critics urge her to stop before she humiliates herself further, describing her behavior as ego-driven and out of touch. Palace insiders say William now views Harry's conduct as reckless and damaging to the monarchy's reputation. Harry, for his part, is portrayed as feeling trapped, torn between filial duty and his instinct to protect Meghan. Friends say he has grown defensive, combative, and increasingly isolated, desperate to shield her from the fallout, yet watching every interview and media project push him further from his brother. Observers ask what, exactly, Meghan thinks she is doing, suggesting that her pride has become so inflated she no longer knows when to pull back. Sources claim William's approach is calculated. Let Harry flail in the public arena, let Meghan issue bombastic legal threats, and allow the media storm to slowly strip away their credibility. By the time any formal step is taken regarding the titles, the public, they believe, will be resigned to it, seeing it not as cruelty but as the inevitable end to a long, chaotic chapter. Commentators call Meghan's legal ambitions absurd, while journalists like Paula Froelich of NewsNation stress how clear-eyed and resolute William has become. Insiders say this dynamic creates a perfect storm. Harry feeling helpless, Meghan panicked, William composed and prepared. The Sussex's media machine, built on royal status and global curiosity, is now said to be wobbling, especially as public sentiment sours and even sympathetic Hollywood contacts begin to keep their distance out of embarrassment or caution. The Sussex brand, once shielded and elevated by its royal connection, is now facing a reckoning. Every late-night strategy call, every new PR pitch, every indignant public statement is described as yet another strained attempt to delay the unavoidable, even as they keep trying to operate with one foot in, one foot out, after being told that was no longer acceptable. The prevailing view among insiders is stark. William will act, Meghan will fight, the press will erupt, but in the end, history and the monarchy will be unmoved by threats, lawsuits, or celebrity influence. The countdown, they say, has already started, and for Meghan Markle, the title of Duchess may soon exist only as a memory rather than a living reality.